Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sorin Space. Today, we explore a question that has followed humanity from its very beginning, a question that quietly defines every scientific breakthrough, every technological revolution, and every expansion of human intelligence. What is civilization trying to communicate with? For thousands of years, we believed civilization was a story of power, of survival, of resources, of tools. But if we observe carefully across biology, across society, across technology, we see something far deeper. Civilization is the history of expanding the range of beings with whom humans can communicate. 1. Language, when humans first became communicable. Before language, humans lived as isolated minds. Thoughts existed but could not be shared. Meaning existed but could not be aligned. The invention of language was the first great widening of the human communicable world. Humans could finally coordinate, teach, build norms, transfer ideas across tribes and across generations. Language did not merely help civilization. Language created civilization, but it also imposed a limit. We could only communicate with those who shared our linguistic channel. The world was speaking, but we could not hear it. 2. Writing, when humans began communicating across time. Writing allowed humans to communicate not just with those around them, but with those who would live centuries later. This was humanity's first victory over time itself. Civilization now had memory. Laws could persist, knowledge could accumulate. Mathematics, science, philosophy, all emerged because of a new communication substrate. But again, the world continued speaking through patterns, stars, seasons, signals. Writing helped us remember, but not necessarily understand. 3. Science, communicating with nature's internal code. Science was humanity's first attempt to read the language of nature. Gravity is a communication. Light is a communication. DNA is a communication. Science taught us that nature is not silent. We were just illiterate. We translated nature's communication into human concepts: law, force, atom, organism, ecosystem. This was our first step toward communicating with the non-human world. Yet nature's own information system remained far richer than our linguistic model. 4. Computers, communicating with a new form of intelligence. With the arrival of machines, humanity attempted an unprecedented act: to communicate with an intelligence that does not share our biology. We began with zeros and ones, the most primitive translation bridge. Then we invented procedural languages to express sequential logic. Then object-oriented languages to express relationships and behaviors. We kept building abstractions, not to make machines smarter, but to make machine communication closer to human cognition. We were not improving computers. We were improving translation between two forms of intelligence. 5. AI. Machines finally learn our language. AI is the first technology that does not need us to speak its language. It learns ours. This is the moment humanity achieved its first true cross-species dialogue. A machine can now understand our questions, our intentions, our stories, our emotions, even the ambiguity of our words. This is a historic event, not because AI exceeds human ability, but because AI extends human communication beyond our own species. For the first time in human history, we speak to something that was not born human, and it speaks back. 6. But humanity has always wanted more. We want to speak to everything. Even today, the world remains full of languages we cannot hear. Birds communicate in frequency patterns. Plants communicate through chemical signals and electrical pulses. Ecosystems communicate through feedback systems. The universe communicates through waves, radiation, geometry. Quantum fields communicate through probability distributions. Nature is not silent. The universe is not silent. Life is not silent. We simply do not yet have the ability to listen. Humanity's greatest limitation is not intelligence, it is our dependence on language as the only window into meaning. And so humanity keeps inventing new tools to translate non-human information into human language. Science translates nature. Technology translates behavior. AI translates machine representation. Astronomy translates cosmic signals. Biology translates cellular communication. Civilization is the story of trying to understand what everything else is saying. 7. The future. Humanity must break out of language itself. If we remain bound to language alone, we will always force the world to conform to our narrow channel. But if we liberate human cognition from linguistic compression, if we learn to process concepts directly, structure directly, patterns directly, frequencies directly, then communication expands from words to worlds. We will understand animals without translating them. We will understand plants without interpreting them. We will understand ecosystems without modeling them. We will understand machines without reducing them to text. We may even understand the information architecture of the universe itself. The next breakthrough of civilization is not faster language, but higher dimensional communication, a world where humans no longer need to translate everything into words, but can finally communicate in the formats that reality actually uses. 8. Civilization equals the expansion of the communicable universe. When we step back, a single pattern emerges. Language let us communicate with humans. Writing let us communicate with time. Science let us communicate with nature. Computers let us communicate with logic. AI let us communicate with machines. The next stage is inevitable. Civilization will mature when humans can communicate with all forms of information, biological, mechanical, ecological, cosmic, without forcing them to speak human language. That is the destiny of communication. That is the destiny of civilization. Ladies and gentlemen, civilization is not the history of tools. It is the history of connection. It is the endless expansion of who and what we are able to understand. And when humanity finally learns to communicate beyond language itself, we will not just build a new civilization. We will enter a new dimension of existence. Thank you.